not started yet. Yeah, okay. So, Prabhuji, can you take over? I'm audible?
Okay. Hare Krishna, Dhanapram,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Mataji, and all the devotees. Thank you so much for giving me this wonderful opportunity to serve you all.
Please take over, Prabhuji.
All right.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so I have requested recording to be done on my laptop, and if someone can approve that.
Puja Mataji?
Yes, now it's done.
Okay. And also, if before the class starts, everyone just look at their, okay, if they can look at their Zoom session and see if they're muted, then it'll be nice to hear nicely in the morning. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so can I start?
Yes, Prabhuji, please
Yes,
start. Yeah.
Okay. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वतीदेवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay, all right. So thank you all the devotees for giving me opportunity to serve you all. So let us start with the topic about this is a very frequently asked question, and I think many devotees want to know which is more important, sadhana or seva, because there are circumstances, occasions where we are actually really bewildered that what is more important. Is it sadhana? Is it seva? And then when you look at Prabhupada's statements, Prabhupada apparently said contrary things at different place, time, circumstances. So it is very important to understand the process of Krishna consciousness, because Prabhupada said one time, and this is also recorded in the book written by His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj, which is the Dancing White Elephants. I'm not sure if you have read that book, but whenever you get opportunity, you can read that book. So Srila Prabhupada does mention about this point, that the Hare Krishna Mahamantra can only be effective when we follow the process. Krishna consciousness is a process. Otherwise, Hare Krishna Mahamantra chanting of that becomes mechanical, and it is similar to like firing a gun without the bullet. So it can make sound, but it will have no effect. So Prabhupada also quotes Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So basically, Krishna, in order to have the desired effect and the entire effect of Krishna consciousness, we have to follow the process, and that process is actually governed by, it is basically, you can say, dominated by the instructions of Guru and pleasing the Guru, because the Guru is supposed to be the is supposed the direct representative of Krishna, transparent via medium to Krishna. So assuming that the Guru is a direct medium, and then because we cannot understand Krishna's desire directly, so we have to understand the desire of the Guru. And once we know the desire of Guru, then we have to follow the desire. If we follow the desire of the Guru, then we are always protected and we are safe, because he is the one who is going to take the responsibility. So I am going to share a lot of Prabhupada Leelas where Prabhupada actually gave apparently contrary instructions to his disciples. So you'll get a very good understanding of knowing what exactly is sadhana seva. And then we'll also discuss about how much importance we should give to sadhana, how much importance we can give to seva. So let us go through all of that. All right. So, so as I said, that the most important and the foremost um, and the topmost service, or the entire goal of Krishna consciousness movement, is to please Krishna, and that is to please the Guru. But this Guru must be a Sadguru. Sadguru means a genuine, authentic Guru. He cannot be a false Guru. If he is a false Guru, then there are a lot of chances he will fall down in the future. So then you start questioning, whether whatever service I did for Guru, whatever instructions I followed, was that all accepted by Krishna? So the Guru has to be Sadguru. Then only he can take responsibility and can make the adjustments, the necessary adjustment. Because when Guru interferes and then he's asking you to do something, which is sometimes, it is like out of the syllabus kind of thing. So then he is responsible for the reaction for that. So he is the one who's going to take all the responsibility in order to make you attain Krishna Prem. Right? So he must have the potency to adjust things according to the circumstance. And Srila Prabhupada, now see, I will take you back to Srila Prabhupada's time. So there are many occasions where Prabhupada said different things to different disciples on the same topic. Okay, so like for example, Srila Prabhupada changed the services of his disciples when he felt there was a need according to circumstances, and his emphasis also on the sadhana. So basically, what is sadhana? Sadhana is generally internal cultivation of our Krishna consciousness, and that is also connected to the limbs of bhakti. So generally speaking, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam, these are all like sadhana. Okay, so these will help us to take us, it will give us the depth that we require in Krishna consciousness, so that we can remember the Lord constantly. We can be absorbed in the Lord constantly. Otherwise, what will happen? Whatever seva we are doing, services we are doing, it can become external. So externally, we may do physically lot of services, right? Or we may preach also. But internally, if we are not thinking of Krishna, we are not doing the service for his satisfaction, then the services are not complete in itself. They, like, there is some lacking, there is some contamination, and it needs to be purified. So there is some ulterior motive behind those services. Then you have tendency of acquiring name and fame or recognition. So that's why whatever services you are doing, ultimately one thing you should know: if you are doing it sincerely and purely for the pleasure of Krishna, then Krishna always accept it. Okay, there is no question that he will not accept it. So see, for example, Srila Prabhupada gave sannyas to Tamal Krishna Maharaj, and he asked him to only focus on preaching. He wanted him to just keep on traveling in different parts of the world and preach the message of Krishna, to give Krishna to others. But then later on, when he saw that in India, especially in Bombay, when the situation was very difficult and devotees were not able to handle it, and then they were, even in spite of taking responsibility, they were not comfortable, and then later on they left the responsibility and they went back to the US or Western countries, to their hometown. So then Srila Prabhupada saw that not everyone is going to able to do this service, and that's why he called Tamal Krishna Maharaj back in India, and he asked him to take responsibility for management in India. So this is after taking sannyas. Now, in some cases, Srila Prabhupada asked disciples to finish 16 rounds at no cost, no matter how much they served. So, like, there is one particular example wherein our disciple is serving almost like 24 hours. So, out of 24 hours, like he was serving, let's say, around 16 to 18 hours a day, and then he was not able to chant the 16 rounds because of that. So then he went to Prabhupada and he asked Prabhupada if there is some special mercy he can get. Prabhupada said no 16 rounds must be done no matter what. If you want, you sleep less, cut off your sleep, but 16 rounds has to be completed on the same day. Now this is one instruction. Now see the contrast in another instruction by Srila Prabhupada. And if you, I am not sure if you have heard about this Prabhupada disciple called Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu, who was serving in Vrindavan, and he was so totally absorbed and busy in his service to Krishna Balram, because he had taken the service of cooking for the pleasure of the lordships. So he was cooking constantly, right from morning till night. He was always cooking, and that's why he could not chant 16 rounds. Now, when Prabhupada heard that, so he allowed Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu. He said that, well, he does not have to chant 16 rounds. So this is shared by His Grace Deen Bandhu Prabhu. whom you know very well, I believe. He's from Vrindavan, and he also travels to US, sharing his Viraj Kathas and all. Prabhupada disciple. So Deen Bandhu Prabhu has shared this. So this is one instance. Another instance, Srila Prabhupada allowed one devotee to continue as temple president, and he was not chanting his 16 rounds. So what happened is, one time some of his disciples, they went to Prabhupada and they complained that your disciple is a temple president and supposed to set an example, but he's not chanting 16 rounds. And Srila Prabhupada immediately interrupted and said that, did Arjun chant 16 rounds? Did Arjun chant the Hare Krishna when he was fighting the war? So Srila Prabhupada, to utter surprise and shock, all the devotees were like stunned, because Prabhupada made concessions according to time-based circumstances. And of course, Prabhupada could do it because he's a founder Acharya, he's like Nityasiddha devotee. So he could make those adjustments, he could give special mercy to anyone, and he could make that special adjustment for anyone. So that was Prabhupada's prerogative. So this is a circumstance where Prabhupada allows a devotee to be a temple president who is not chanting 16 rounds. And another instance, the same thing happened when a temple president was not chanting 16 rounds. Prabhupada told him that you have to chant your 16 rounds. So now another Prabhupada Leela. So Prabhupada said about a devotee who was chanting 128 rounds a day, and this is in Mayapur, and he was like living a very austere life. He was also isolating himself, and he was trying to live under a tree in different forests of Navdeep. So Prabhupada one time saw that directly, and Prabhupada said that is nonsense. He's just doing sense gratification. Then in another context, there was one particular temple president who went to Prabhupada, and he told Prabhupada that we have a lot of services in the temple, but this devotee, he prefers to chant uh, mostly throughout the day. So he's not like doing some physical services, not rendering some practical services, and we need that. And then Prabhupada told his temple president, he told, "Oh, do you think that chanting Hare Krishna is not a service? It is the greatest service." So you can see how Prabhupada totally, completely contrary in different circumstances. Now, what Prabhupada spoke about Kirtan. So this is also very interesting. So this is recently also shared by Her Grace Devi Shakti Mataji, who is also Prabhupada disciple living in Vrindavan. And she was introduced by His Grace, actually, now he is a sannyasi, His Holiness Krishna Chaitanya Swami. Earlier he was Eklavya Prabhu, if you remember, because he is also frequently visiting the US, and he did a lot of kirtan whenever he went. So he was interviewing Devi Shakti Mataji, and Devi Shakti Mataji was, because he was asking about kirtan. So what exactly is kirtan? And because Prabhupada had asked Devi Shakti Mataji to constantly chant the Hare Krishna, constantly do kirtan, 24 hours a day, do kirtan for the Lord. So then Devi Shakti Mataji was feeling that I am not qualified for this because it's a very difficult service. I mean, I cannot, absorb my mind, absorb myself during the 16 rounds of chanting. What to speak of 24 hours of chanting? So then she, one time at the when Prabhupada was performing his final pastimes in the material world, so that time she noticed one thing, because she was in the room when Prabhupada was with Swarup Damodar Maharaj and his other disciples. And this is like, right when Prabhupada was on the bed, and he was like, just few days before he was about to leave this world. And Swarup Damodar Goswami, because he was extremely dear to Prabhupada, he was a scientist devotee, and Prabhupada always loved to hear from him. And especially his stories about how he argued with the materialistic scientist and defeated them. So he was sharing his experience and conversations with them, and Prabhupada were relishing a lot. And then in between, suddenly Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, well, Prabhupada, can we just do the Hare Krishna Mahamantra Kirtan? And Prabhupada interrupted him and said that, well, this is also Kirtan. So it basically broadens the definition of Kirtan. Because generally we believe that Kirtan means only chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But it also means serving the holy name. So serve whatever is assisting the holy name to spread the holy name, that also becomes Kirtan. And Prabhupada also said on different occasions that Katha is also Kirtan, book distribution is Briyad Vridangam, that is also greater Kirtan, right? So Prabhupada defined Kirtan in different ways. Another instance is, this is also I think again in Vrindavan, when devotees, they were building a Krishna Balaram temple. So that time, some of Prabhupada disciples, they went to him and they started sharing their experience. And they started saying that, well, Prabhupada, we are here because we had so much glories about Vrindavan Dham, Raj Dham. We were here to relish Krishna consciousness, to actually go from forest to forest and to uh, experience the Dham, to understand the Dham, and to chant the holy name. But now what we are doing here is basically we are just counting cement bags and we are physically in so much service. So we thought that we'll be chanting here, but like they were doing all these kind of services, building temple, managing. So Prabhupada said, do you think that chanting Hare Krishna is the only chanting? Your counting of cement bags is also chanting. So this is what Srila Prabhupada did. This is about Kirtan. Then about reading Prabhupada's books. This is very interesting again. So Srila Prabhupada told Giriraj Maharaj that if one serves the person Bhagavad, then he achieves the same result as the book Bhagavad. So if someone is completely serving this under the direct instruction of spiritual master as per his desire, and if he is not able to read these books, then all the truths of the book Bhagavad are revealed even if one does not read the books. Another time, Srila Prabhupada said that the purpose of reading his books was to chant Hare Krishna. And very interesting and also contrary to this is that in the CC Madhya Parpat, he says that one will fall down if one does not read his books. And then Srila Prabhupada also spoke about giving, like he also emphasized on practical service. So one time he said that, what is the use of your chanting if you cannot do practical service? Right? But if no, so I just shared a few minutes ago that Srila Prabhupada one time, a devotee was chanting and he said that chanting is the greatest service. So much contradiction, Yeah. So from this, all these leelas of Prabhupada, it is clear that Srila Prabhupada was the final authority, and this is the process of Krishna consciousness. So basically, it is the Guru that is going to decide what is sadhana, what is seva, and accordingly make the adjustments. So we can get prema. Now, how do we get prem? See, we cannot, because we are sadhakas, we are in material bodies. If we want to attain prema, first we have to come to the state of bhav. And technically, Rupa Goswami defines bhav as one ray of prema entering the heart. It is basically the Ladini and Samvit potency, the one ray of Ladini and Samvit potency that enters the heart. So basically, it is the spiritual Shakti of the Lord, because bhav and prema, these are actually coming from the Antaran Shakti of the Lord. So these are all spiritual. So the material body cannot actually see the Lord. It cannot perform service to the Lord. But only by the mercy of a devotee who has got bhav and prema, when they, when they bestow their mercy, then we get this Samvit and Ladini Shakti of the Lord, and then we can attain bhav and prema. So one thing is very clear. Ultimately, everything that we are doing, it is only to attract the mercy of the spiritual master or the guru or the pure devotee or just the devotee. Okay, if they bestow their glance or mercy and they bestow bhav to us, then only we get bhav. So let us keep aside all the definitions of sadhana seva and just remember one thing: it is all defined by the guru. It is all, that's why in the Nectar of Devotion also you'll see that the foundational principle of the limbs of bhakti, there are 64 main limbs of bhakti, right? In fact, there are unlimited, you can say, but Rupa Goswami has boiled it down to 64. And amongst those 64, then he brings it down to 20 from that to 10, from 10 to 5, ultimately the most important. But the foundational principles are the surrender to Guru, to follow the instructions of Guru, and to serve the Guru. These are like the foundations of any particular structure. If you destroy the foundation, then the entire building will collapse. So no matter whichever limb of bhakti you perform, if the foundation is not there, you will not be able to attain Prem for the Lord. Okay. So this has to be understood that ultimately it is the privilege and prerogative of the Guru to decide what is sadhana, what is seva. Now, one time Srila Gaur Govind Maharaj also said that what bhajan can we do in Kali Yuga? Right? What bhajan are we doing? Do you think 16 rounds is a bhajan? 16 rounds is insignificant, nothing. In fact, if you remember, Srila Prabhupada started with 64 rounds. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that whoever does not chant 64 rounds, they are actually considered to be fallen. Mahaprabhu did not even want to visit their homes. He said, they are fallen, I cannot eat at their house. If they want me to invite to their house and feed me prasadam, they have to chant 64 rounds. You see this reference in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. So, according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, according to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur, if we are not chanting 64 rounds, we are fallen actually. But Srila Prabhupada made that adjustment, and that's why we are able to chant 16 rounds. And but of course, that 64 rounds and 16 rounds, the quantity is definitely difference is there, but that is made up by the process of preaching. If Prabhupada has instructed us to preach, all of us to spread Krishna consciousness. So, and then he's given the program also, the morning program, like, Mangalarti, Bhagavatam, Association of Devotees, reading his books. So it's a sandwich program. If we do this, then it becomes equivalent to chanting of 64 rounds by Prabhupada's mercy. So in Kali Yuga, we cannot do any bhajan. In fact, Gaur Govind Maharaj says that what is our qualification in Kali Yuga? He says disqualification is our qualification. Okay, we are not qualified for anything. It is only disqualification that makes us qualify, which means that because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came especially to deliver fallen souls, and that's why, because we are disqualified, so we are fallen, and that's why we have got some qualification to chant and do some sadhana. So the entire goal of sadhana and seva is to attract the mercy of the pure devotee of the Lord. So this, please understand this very thoroughly. There is no other way than this. Now, some devotees may be very advanced in this life, but it is possible in the previous life they have got the mercy of the pure devotee or the Lord, and that's why they are, like without initiation, without like formalities, they are doing a lot of wonderful service, or they are very enthusiastic to share Krishna consciousness, or they are very absorbed in Krishna. So that is possible from the previous life. So Srila Prabhupada said different things at different times, and that's why with different devotees, things may work differently. And that's why one thing which is recommended to a devotee, a particular instruction cannot be applied to another devotee. This also we have to understand. Because everyone is individual and Krishna is Akhila Rasamrita, which means that Krishna can accept unlimited varieties of devotional service to himself. He can accept infinite flavors, right? So this is the principle. But now, see, unless and until, if you are directly in touch with your spiritual master and he's instructing you directly, then there is no doubt. But if you have not been instructed, there is no specific instruction for you. There are a lot of general instructions, right? For example, chant the holy name, hear Krishna Katha, remember the Lord, then do kirtan, associate with devotees, render service. These are all general instructions. There is no specific. So for general instructions, we need some clarification. How much sadhana seva has to be done? What is really sadhana and seva? So we'll now discuss about that. in general, acharyas also, they have given some principles that we must follow, some kind of order or that we have to follow, and some process that we have to follow. It's a generalized process. Again, when your guru interferes, then it becomes like, you have to give first priority to that. So this applies when there is no specific instruction from guru, except preaching, which is common. So you don't have to wait for instructions of preaching Krishna consciousness, because that is Prabhupada's desire. That is um, the common desire for all the devotees in ISKCON. So you don't need to wait for that. Okay, so now what are these general principles the acharyas they have recommended us? So first and foremost is health. So you may be wondering, well, where is health in the limbs of bhakti? We cannot see that. But in Kali Yuga, without good health, we cannot render service. We cannot do proper sadhana. So first of all, even with good health, we are not able to focus on 16 rounds completely. The entire 1.5 to 2 hours duration, we are not able to uh, remember the Lord. We are not able to absorb ourselves in the Lord. So what to speak of when our health is not good? And that's why our acharyas they say, first thing, because we are conditioned soul. So very humbly we have to accept that we are not transcendentalists. We have to maintain our health. What is happening is that devotees they because of ignorance they take up a lot of services, and I mean thinking that they want to do more service for the Lord, but in the long run their health is affected, and then ultimately they have to stop doing service. This is, unfortunately, this is the consequence. So we have to be intelligent, and whatever is affecting our health, we should not do it for, we should not do it only. Sometimes, okay, sometimes it is okay, a very rare occasion. If we have to really do it, it's a urgent situation. Temporarily it can affect our health, but definitely not on a continuous um, level. We should not do that kind of, we should not take up so those services that is going to affect our health. So health is the first and foremost. Then comes, so the acharyas they say that then comes sadhana. So sadhana, what is sadhana? And at the end comes service. So I will also like to share that these are interchangeable. So what is the meaning of that? It means that sadhana becomes a service, and service becomes sadhana, and health can also become service, and health can also become sadhana. How? I think it's not so difficult to understand this, because when you have good health, your sadhana will be good. You will be able to focus properly on your sadhana as well as seva. So health becomes like kind of assistant to sadhana and seva. That's why health is sadhana and health is seva also. When you do seva, that will also give you a lot of mercy. That through that mercy, you will get taste for the holy name, and you get taste, and you will get taste to absorb yourself in Krishna Katha and Krishna Leela, Gaur Leela and Gaur Katha. So that seva also becomes sadhana, and that's why Vaisheshika Prabhu he says that book distribution is a heavy sadhana. So when you go out, when you get out of the comfort zone, when you go out of the streets, when you distribute books, you are taking that extra effort and going out of the zone and out of your comfort area. When you make some special sacrifices for the Lord, then special mercy definitely will be bestowed. So that special mercy will expedite your taste in the holy name. It will give you, so quality, your quality of Krishna consciousness will be really, it will go to a very high level, and that will be quickly. So that's how seva actually becomes sadhana. And how sadhana becomes seva? Because when you have a strong sadhana, and now, of course, we'll also try to categorize what is really sadhana and what is seva. But when you have a strong sadhana, then your sadhana will always keep you enthusiastic to serve. to serve the Lord, to serve the devotees, to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. You'll always get that fire from within. So one time a question was asked to His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, that which is the best form of mercy a spiritual master can give to his disciple. Actually, it was a question asked by Jayapataka Maharaj to his disciples. And then different disciples gave different answers, that the best form is Krishna consciousness, to distribute Krishna consciousness, to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness, this, that, they said. But then finally, Maharaj said that the greatest mercy of spirit, it is not about glancing at a disciple or embracing a disciple or giving Mahaprasad remnants to a disciple. That is all good. It is all favorable. It is all fortune. Okay. It's all good fortune. But how do you use that fortune? If you do not serve the Guru's mission, if you do not render service to the Guru, then ultimately all these so-called um, special mercy of the Guru will be useless. Okay. So you must have the desire to do something special for the Guru. If he is giving special mercy, then you have to take that extra effort to do something special for the Guru. So what he said is that the greatest form of special mercy is the fire of Krishna consciousness you can get from the Guru's, you can get from Guru, and you burn it in your inside your heart. So once you take that fire from the Guru and you keep burning that within your heart, then that fire will sustain you till you go back to Godhead. It will not just sustain you, but you will be doing wonderful services. You will do with a lot of enthusiasm. So that fire of Krishna consciousness can only come when you have a very strong sadhana. That's why Vaisheshika Prabhu also says that, and this is also, I mean, this is directly told by Srila Prabhupada. Once he was asked, how can we increase your book distribution? Srila Prabhupada said, if you can chant 16 rounds at one stretch, of course, attentive rounds as much as possible. If you do that, and if you chant attentively, if you chant 16 rounds at one stretch throughout your life, you will always get that enthusiasm to distribute Prabhupada books constantly for many, many years to come. Of course, it does not mean that now sometimes in book distribution, it's not always related to the number of books sold. Like sometimes you may not sell anything, and sometimes you may sell a lot of books on a particular day. So what is the meaning? The meaning is that whether you sell or not, but throughout your life you will be doing book distribution as a service. You will not be affected by results. So you'll know that you have a clear intention of pleasing your Guru and Krishna. So this is the meaning of that. So that fire has to be burned. That has to be taken from the Guru. This is actually the special mercy of the Guru. Okay. All right. So now let us come to what is sadhana. Okay. So technically speaking, sadhana is basically the 64 limbs of bhakti. Okay. I mean, you can say the internal cultivation of Krishna consciousness using all these limbs of bhakti. And of course, amongst those 64 limbs, you'll see that there is also Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam, then service to the deities. There are, many elements in serving the deities. So Archanam. Archanam is also like, there are so many elements, limbs of Archanam, but it is all together called as Archanam, one limb. There are many limbs under that. And Rupa Goswami does state that in Bhakti Samrit Sindhu. So the point is that whatever helps you for your internal cultivation of Krishna consciousness, whatever makes you strong, whatever removes your doubt, so that you are completely convinced of surrendering to Krishna and to be constantly absorbed in Krishna. Whatever helps you doing that, that is actually sadhana. And generally, sadhana is basically Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam. These are the main limbs of sadhana. Or Srila Rupa Goswami also said that the five most important elements of sadhana is Harinam Sankirtan, Srimad Bhagavat Katha, then Association of Devotees, Sadhu Sangh, and then we have this Dham Vas, and we have deity worship. So these are all connected to sadhana. When you do this very nicely with absorption, with concentration, focus, attention, then it will help your it will help you to uh, it will give you strength to sustain maya, and it will also help you in your own absorption in Krishna consciousness. So your internal aspect of Krishna consciousness will become very strong, and the purpose behind why you are doing the service also will become very effective, because internal there will be harmony between internal and external service. So internally you are thinking of the Lord, you are thinking to please the Lord. Externally you are doing some practical service, so it will align itself. Okay, so this is sadhana. And then service is, service can be, I mean, like there may be some specific form of service, and there may be some uh, broader form of service. So like as Srila Prabhupada said, that chanting Hare Krishna is the greatest service, right? Generally, chanting Hare Krishna is actually meant to be sadhana for us. But it can also become service when the Lord desires that. Like for example, Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji, then Bhaktivinoda Thakur also later on he took Babaji Vesh, and then Jagannath Das Babaji, they all chanted Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So was it not a service? No, it was the greatest service because they were chanting purely. And Srila Prabhupada also gives the credit to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He says that uh, the entire credit goes to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. If he wanted, he could have made the entire world Krishna conscious, but he left something for me. So indirectly, Prabhupada gave a lot of credit to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Of course, that is Prabhupada's humility also. But this is what we understand, that when our Nityasiddha devotee, even if that is also a great service, because he's chanting for the benefit of the entire sampradaya. Okay, that's like he's purifying the entire world through his chanting. I mean, we cannot realize that, but it is true. It is this is what happens. So yeah, so basically sadhana is generally Shravanam. I mean, sadhana, there are two parts of sadhana. One is like the Bhagavad marg, and one is Panchatrik marg. And ultimately, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers, they are more inclined towards the Bhagavad marg. And Panchatrik marg will help us to become more absorbed in the Bhagavad marg later on. So for us, Bhagavad marg is more important. But in order to come to the Bhagavad marg platform totally, we need the help of Panchatrik marg also. Okay, so this is basically sadhana. And seva, of course, physical seva, it can be using words, it can be using intelligence, it can be using your mind, it can be using your senses, physical service also. All these things can be service when there is some sort of external form of action, implementation of, like, so. And that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the essence of the entire bhakti movement is Nam Ruchi Vaishnav Seva Jeev Daya. Nam Ruchi one must have, so that when you have taste for Nam, when you chant purely, and so basically your sadhana takes you to higher stages of bhakti. The more higher you are, the less chances of falling down, less chances of Maya conquering your senses, right? So that's the role of sadhana. So sadhana basically takes you to higher stages, from Shraddha all the way to Prema. Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhav, Prem. So ultimately the goal of sadhana is to take you to the stage of Bhav and Prema. So if you attain perfection, then there is no point of returning back, and there is no question of falling down. So then you become a Nitya Siddha. Then no matter whatever, wherever you preach, you will not be affected by Maya, right? So this is the result of sadhana. And if you neglect that, then let's say if you are not even clearing anartha nivritti, then you are struggling with your anarthas. So whenever there is a challenge, whenever there is a lot of anxiety or Maya is, trying to bewilder you, then there is a chance that you may deviate, you may fall down, or you may change the path. So all these things are possible. That's why sadhana, basically, if one has strong sadhana, and of course, if one is doing strong sadhana, does not mean that he has reached higher stages, because till nishta you can put your own efforts, because it is all involving body, mind, senses. But whether you get taste for the holy name, whether you get taste for devotional service, ruchi, asakti, whether you become attached to the Lord, these are all external elements. These can only be attained when you get the mercy of the pure devotees. So when you get the mercy of Vaishnavas, then you get taste. Ultimately, the entire effort is dependent on attracting the mercy of the pure devotees. Okay, so your sadhana has to attract the mercy of pure devotees. If you please them, you get their mercy, and then you proceed to ruchi, asakti, bhav, prem. So this is what is so important. Like, that's why sadhana is very important. And once you attain higher stages of bhakti, it means that you can render service very effectively with lot of quality, purity, and then quantity will also follow. Okay, so see, now I would like to share some examples of our acharyas. Like, for example, Srila Prabhupada's example is there, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur there. So what they did before coming to the world of preaching, at a very old age, Srila Prabhupada, when he came at the age of 70, started preaching in the Western countries. In India also he was trying. He tried for like almost 40 years, but he was not successful. So then he ultimately went to the West. But then you look at his preparation. Srila Prabhupada was residing in Vrindavan. He resided there for like 6 years. And he was crying for the mercy of Rup Goswami, Rup Sanatan Jiva, his Guru Maharaj. He was doing menial services there. He was chanting the holy names purely for such a long time. After all this preparation, then finally, after 6 years, when he was done with his commentary on the Bhagvatam, first two cantos, then he left for the Western countries. And similarly, you'll see Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he started preaching. But what he did before that, I think for around 6 to 9 years, I'm not very sure about that, but for 6 to 9 years, he had taken a vow to chant 1 billion names of the Lord. So he was chanting 192 rounds for almost 6 years, I think. I don't exactly remember the number of years, but 192 rounds he was chanting daily for number of years. And then he also used to do a lot of tapasya, austerities during Chaturmas. So all these things, all the sadhana made him extremely, like, of course, this is a example for us to follow. Like, they are Nitya Siddha, so they don't require to undergo all these things. But for us to set an example so that we can try to follow that, um, they did that. So it's a lifetime of preparation. I mean, so we'll also come to the point where, a guru gives instruction, but then when do we follow that? That is also another consideration. So we'll discuss that. So Srila Prabhupada took sannyas after a long time and implemented his guru's instruction after a long time. So see, when did Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur gave this instruction? At the very first time when Prabhupada was not even initiated. The very first meeting Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur gave this instruction to Prabhupada, that you are a well-educated person, you know English language, so kindly preach the message of Lord Chaitanya in the Western countries. Without even knowing Prabhupada, the first instruction he gave. Now, Prabhupada did not do it immediately. Just see, when did he start that? He started after many, many years. Maybe, I think he met his Guru Maharaj in 1922. I think he took, uh, sorry, 1922, I think he took his Diksha from Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, and 1911, I think he met Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. This is, where he actually got his instruction, 1911. And now you see 1966, Prabhupada incorporated ISKCON. How many years gap is there? Almost 50 years of gap. So Prabhupada fulfilled the instruction of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur after 50 years. So that's why it is also important that devotees should not judge other devotees. If a devotee is preparing, they are doing sadhana and they have the intention to do preaching and serve, but we don't know that. So sometimes we may not know that. So that's why it is important for us not to judge. Let the Guru decide for them, because the Guru knows. If they are properly connected to Guru, they are surrendered to Guru, then Guru knows everything. So this is also an important factor. So Srila Prabhupada says in this context that one may suspend the instructions of spiritual master, but one cannot neglect it. Okay, this is very important. So Srila Prabhupada suspended the instructions. He was busy in his Grihastha ashram and he was not willing to take sannyas earlier, but then he was forced to take sannyas. Today is Prabhupada's sannyas day, so very auspicious day, and somehow we are discussing all this sannyas lila also. So after a long time, Prabhupada took sannyas for the benefit of others, and of course, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he repeatedly came in the dream of Prabhupada and he was inspiring him, encouraging him to take sannyas. Right? So all these, that's why we have to know Srila Prabhupada Leela properly, so we can understand it and we don't become judgmental about other situation also. And then when Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati they started preaching, it was like no one, because they spread Krishna consciousness to a extreme level. No one could do that. None of God brothers Prabhupada was able to do it. Right? So see the potency. It was Akinchan Krishnadas Babaji who said that when Prabhupada, so during his sannyas ceremony, Akinchan Krishnadas Babaji was actually chanting the holy name loudly, but there was some sacrifice going on. So some devotees were saying to Akinchan Krishnadas Babaji, please stop, because we are not able to, like, they are also chanting their hymns and all, so they are not able to focus. And then finally Akinchan Krishnadas Babaji stopped. But then Srila Prabhupada looked at Akinchan Krishnadas Babaji with a glance, and then he indicated, please continue, please continue. So at that point of time, Akinchan Krishnadas Babaji says that I had complete faith in Abhay Babu. That time was Abhay Babu before sannyas. That he is the one who is got pure, taste. Like he's the one who's chanting Shuddhanam, and he's got complete faith in the holy name. And then later on, he recalls that when he was asked that what is the reason only why Srila Prabhupada was able to do it. So he says that it is because your Guru Maharaj, there's some Prabhupada disciples went to it. So he said that your Guru Maharaj was able to do it because he had complete, explicit faith in the holy name. And that's why no one was able to take the holy name to the length and breadth of the entire world. So only Srila Prabhupada was able to do it. So this is the result of sadhana. So one should not judge some devotees who are doing sadhana. Of course, it's not possible for everyone to do like this. But if someone is genuinely if they are genuinely chanting, able to chant Namabas or Shudram, then we just have to wait for the results. It will, because Krishna will empower them in the future, and everything will be everything will be revealed to us with time. So service is most effective when your sadhana is very strong. So sadhana has to be there, and that's why Srila Prabhupada said that amongst all the instructions that I gave, the first and foremost is to chant 16 rounds attentively the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and following the regulative principles. So Prabhupada says very clearly, 16 rounds. So even you may not, probably by mistake or by your conditioning nature, you may sometimes break the regulative principles. But there is no question of compromising with the 16 rounds of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, especially for initiated devotees. Right? So, yeah. Now it is very interesting. I don't know if you know this. But in one, but now, of course, you must be knowing that Prabhupada gave many instructions about preaching in his books, in the letters. He wanted everyone to preach. You see that 95% of the instructions Prabhupada has given to his disciples is all about preaching. Okay. But in one particular letter, Prabhupada says that it is very important to preach, but it is most important to save oneself. So Prabhupada says like that. And how do you understand this? So save oneself, what does that mean? It means that if while preaching, if you become attached to Maya, or the chances that you are weak, like you, because of your weak sadhana, you're weak, then you can leave Krishna consciousness, you can fall down, or you can break the negative principles. So if all these kind of weaknesses are there, these anarthas are there, then it is better that you save yourself. Don't try to preach others. Because when you preach to others, you must have your own good example also. So others can follow that. Practice what you preach, right? If others see that what you are saying you do not yourself follow, then they will say that what is the effect of why should I follow this person, right? So that's why save oneself. So that is most important. So save oneself means that you focus on your bhajan, sadhana. You should try to get rid of anartha nivritti. You should try to progress to higher stages. And then once you are steady, once you are sufficiently empowered, then you can start preaching again. Now, many of the devotees, they may not be affected so much. They may not have so much weakness in heart. So they may preach also. They are able to preach also. But if someone is attached, someone is attracted, and cannot resist the temptation of Maya, then it's better for them to just save oneself. So basically, yeah. Now, my understanding about sadhana after 16 rounds is that I think I would suggest and I would recommend devotees reading of the Acharya, books of the Acharyas. I think when Prabhupada says that first and foremost is 16 rounds, I think the second most important seva is reading the books of the Acharyas. And this is something that you need to experience yourself. I mean, it is so nectarian. Like, I really wonder why devotees they don't read. Like, see, Prabhupada gave this morning program as a sadhana. The sadhana does not just include 16 rounds of chanting the Maha Mantra. It also includes the morning program, which basically means that you attend Mangalarti, get up in the morning early, attend Mangalarti. You also attend the Bhagvatam class. And then Prabhupada actually recommended devotees to read 3 hours daily. Right? Now, of course, see, during Prabhupada's time, everyone was almost a full-time devotee. So their only work, their only seva, everything was to basically render devotional service, completely, uh, render devotional service. But then later on, the culture started shifting, and we now have more grihasthas. So of course, there were grihasthas during Prabhupada times. Almost everyone was married. Most of the devotees were married, but they were like the concept was like staying in the temple and serving in the temple. That was the only thing. There was no external work like grihasthas. They have to work outside. They have to do business to maintain their families. So this culture started gradually shifting, and now we have a lot of grihasthas who are living outside the temple. So when you live outside the temple, you have to maintain yourself, you have to earn money. And when you start earning money, of course, you will not have so much time to have a lot of, strong, like in terms of quantity, you'll have a lot of sadhana program. So you will not be able to read 3 hours a day. But at least one thing I think, so I will be also discussing about the circumstances of the grihasthas, the brahmacharis, vanaprasthas, and sannyasis, that what sadhana and seva means for them, because all these, these are all contextual. For a sannyasi, they may be chanting 64 rounds a day or 32 rounds a day, but that may not be possible for a grihastha. Grihastha earns money, and that is the main service of grihastha, to basically provide maintenance to all the three ashrams. But a sannyasi, he will not be earning money. He is not going to do that because they are not supposed to do that. They only so their main service is to absorb themselves in Krishna and then give Krishna to others, right? So the context will also, depending on that meaning, the quantity of sadhana and seva will also differ. But in general, 16 rounds has to be done for everyone, irrespective of any ashram. And apart from that, I feel that, uh, and of course, Prabhupada did not say that, well, only sannyasis, they are supposed to read his books. This instruction is general instruction, it is for everyone. But I feel that if devotees read the books of the acharyas, of course, Prabhupada's books, and then once they assimilate Prabhupada's books, then they start reading the acharya books, they will have a lot of taste. They'll come to a good level of realization, conviction, and they will also understand there is so much nectar. I mean, you will feel that I don't even want to go spiritual world because there's so much nectar. I don't want to miss that nectar in the material world. As there's so lot of nectar in the books of the Acharya that you have to relish. So uh, it's always good to you know get a lot of taste in Krishna consciousness, because that will be your sadhana, and that sadhana will help you in your services also. And internal cultivation will be very important, and you can quickly progress to higher stages. So um, generally, what I suggest devotees is that they give. So let's say, for example, there is, of course, health is the foremost for us. Then comes sadhana. So generally, I advise devotees to focus on sadhana if there is a conflict between seva and sadhana. Now, sometimes seva can be done if there is a need in the temple. If your gurujan has instructed you for services, occasionally you can uh, sacrifice your some portion of your sadhana, and then you can do seva. But otherwise, your sadhana has to be steady. It has to be regular. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So your 16 rounds, and then Shravanam, and Shravanam also includes reading. So now what devotees do is that they think sadhana basically means chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra in quantity. So they increase their quantity. But then the problem is that 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra is also not done properly. What to speak of, you can just, like as Srila Prabhupada said, no, that chanting Hare Krishna will be a mechanical thing. You'll just hear the sound, but then it's a process. And that process, basically, it should progress further. And how does it progress? From Nam comes Roop. From Roop comes Guna. Leela, like that. Finally, it comes to Leela. So your Nam will automatically, it should automatically make you remember the pastimes of the Lord. And you cannot remember, you cannot even see what to speak of pastimes, going to pastimes. You cannot even remember the form of the Lord if you are too distracted, if you are inattentive in your chanting, especially for grihasthas, because they are working outside, they are dealing with the material world. There's a lot of challenges, anxieties in the ashram. So it is very important that grihasthas do not take uh, unnecessarily. They should not try to increase their number of rounds. It's most important that they first get taste from the books of the acharyas by reading the books, and also reading the pastimes of the Lord, because our acharyas, they have given wonderful pastimes. Srila Prabhupada said that every devotee should read Krishna book before going to bed. You read Krishna book before going to bed. Next day morning, when you chant the round, you'll see that when you chant the name, you'll start automatically remembering what you read in a previous day. So you can see the effect. And you do it regularly, you'll have a lot of. It will affect your consciousness to a great degree. So that's why it's very important that you read more, become steady in your reading. Don't artificially increase your number of rounds. I guarantee you, if you let's say, for example, apart from the 16 rounds of chanting, if let's say if you have half an hour or 1 hour extra for your sadhana, then please invest your time in hearing and reading. Okay, divide that 1 hour or half hour in 15 minutes of hearing, 15 minutes of reading, or half an hour of hearing, half an hour of reading. Do it every day, become steady in that, and see how it affects your chanting. And of course, then you can take help of your deities also. If you have deities at home, or if you visit temple, you're close to temple, then go to the temple. Try to go to the temple regularly. Spend time with the deities. See the deities with absorption. Spend some time with the deities. When you chant the name, you'll see the deities in your mind. You'll see the rupa of the Lord in your mind. So Nam Rup Guna Lila. This is the process. Okay. So this will all help you in your chanting of the holy name. So yeah. So this is my humble understanding and realization that reading of the books of the acharyas, and it will accompany with a lot of kripa also, because when you try to understand the books of the, see, we are not reading to become scholar, we are not reading to defeat others, we are reading as a service to the acharyas, because the acharyas, they have given their lives in writing books, in presenting Krishna consciousness, science, the pastimes, the process. So when you understand these things, the acharyas become very pleased with us, and they bestow their blessings on us. So through that, we get a lot of taste in the holy name. And when we chant, we are, we'll become more absorbed. In spite of external activities, Krishna will also make us remember him. I mean, we may not be able to remember him, but Krishna will somehow make arrangement that we will remember him throughout the day as much as possible. So this is very important. So I believe that this is not just seva, sadhana, but it is also a great service to the acharyas, and we get a lot of mercy from that. So if possible, of course, ultimately it is the guru who will decide according to time place circumstance how much sadhana to be done, how much seva to be done, and what is sadhana, what is seva. That will again, and that's why I gave the entire history of Prabhupada's Leela, how the definition changed depending on context. Right? So see, Rupa Goswami also in the Bhakti Samrit Sindhu, he categorized bhakti into two forms: Cheshta Rupa Bhakti and Bhava Rupa Bhakti. So what is Cheshta Rupa Bhakti? Cheshta Rupa Bhakti is basically um, the form of devotion which is voluntarily. And what is Bhava Rupa Bhakti? Bhava Rupa Bhakti occurs at the stage of Bhav, and it is completely involuntarily. You cannot just control it; it just happens. So it is all based on emotions. Bhava Rupa Bhakti, and Cheshta Rupa Bhakti is basically your actions, your physically, sense, your engagement of senses, mind, because these are all voluntarily you engage in the service of Lord. So both, you know, both are important. Your internal, uh, your absorption in the Lord, your voluntarily services to the Lord, externally, internally, both ways, and that will take us to the platform of bhava. So there are emotions involved, and these are then further categorized into sthayi bhava and sanchari rupa. So there's sthayi rupa and there is sanchari rupa, and then sthayi rupa is again further divided into bhav and prema. Okay. Anyways, we will not go into technical details of Bhakti Samrit Sindhu, but I just shared it because sometimes it's a misconception that service is only external. No, it is also internal. One can also internally serve the Lord. So gradually, once you start becoming absorbed in your in Krishna's Leela or remembering Krishna, then internally also you may, like for example, when you travel, let's say you have deities in your house, or you are most attached to the deities in the temple, and when you are away from them, let's say regularly every day you are going and serving the deities in the temple, right? But if you are away, then in the mind you can offer that same service or worship to the Lord, so that it always remains steady, right? So this is called Cheshta Rupa Bhakti, where voluntarily you are engaging your mind, senses, everything in the service of God. And that's why in the mind also you can serve the Lord. So every devotee, they have inclination for a particular limb of bhakti, and that will become prominent in his life. That limb will become prominent. And it's not that they will not do the other limbs of bhakti, because one thing is for sure: without Shravanam, you cannot perform kirtan, you cannot chant properly, and you cannot remember the Lord. So it's a sequence. Once you do Shravanam properly, that will help you a lot in your chanting. That's why I said that, see, what is the significance of reading and hearing? Unless you do Shravanam properly, you cannot chant the holy name properly. Unless you chant the holy name properly, your preaching will not be effective. You will not be able to remember the Lord also. Okay, so that's why the sequence starts from Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. It does not start from Kirtanam, and it's logical. It goes like that. Shravanam, after that follows Kirtanam, and after that follows Smaranam. If you remember, once I had shared Srila Prabhupada's purport, where he says that out of all the limbs of bhakti, two are most important, Shravanam and Kirtanam. And out of these two, Shravanam is most important. Okay, in another context, Srila Prabhupada says Kirtanam is most important. So then I explained to you what, why this contradiction. So in this context, it is basically said that unless you do proper Shravanam, so Prabhupada further says that unless you hear properly, you cannot perform any other limbs of bhakti properly. So unless you understand the process from the Guru, you cannot actually really perform any of the limbs properly. So in that context, Prabhupada says Shravanam is the most important. But when Kirtanam is the most important, it means that when you attain perfection, then Kirtan is actually the king of all the processes. It is the king of all the limbs of bhakti, because everything is included in Kirtanam. But then the chanting should be pure chanting, and pure chanting means it should be accompanied with sambandhyan, knowledge, right? So again, Shravanam. But Shravanam, when you perfect that, when then Kirtanam becomes the king. So just by doing Kirtan, you can actually go back to Godhead. So basically, devotees, they can take up some service, depending. They need to identify which service they like the most. With their heart is hankering for a particular service, and they are most effective in that service. And long term also they can do that service. So they need to identify that. So they should take up that service. At the same time, whenever there is some need and requirement for the temple, they can also serve that. For particular occasion or for time being, they can also serve, provided their health will permit to do that service. So it should not become physically very difficult for us. Okay. All right. Now the question is that the most important question: can we take up multiple services? A very common question, and so I think it all depends. You may be rendering multiple services, but it shouldn't be done for the sake of receiving recognition. Oh, that devotee, he does so much services, this, that, you name it and he'll do it. He's always ready for service. If that is the goal, to receive recognition, then of course that's a wrong intention and it will not last long, or it has to be rectified later on. So, and then you have to also see whether taking up multiple challenges and services, whether it will impact your health or not in the future. So it has to be a long-term decision. So don't take up a service which is too difficult for you. You cannot manage that service. You cannot handle the pressure. There are devotees who are at sufficiently advanced stages, and they are able to do it. They can handle it. But there are many factors that you can. This is kind of a checklist, and you can check according to whether you are able to handle these things. So let's say, for example, health. One is, you have to see whether it is affecting your health, whether it is affecting your sadhana. You are compromising with your sadhana. If you are doing that, don't do it. Then quality, whether the quality of your sadhana is affected by that. And then quality of your dealing with the Vaishnavas. So generally it is observed, because there are many senior devotees and they have taken up a lot of services. But what we see is that when they are taking a lot of services, and if they are not sufficiently advanced, then their dealing with devotees becomes very rough and tough. It becomes heavy. They are not properly able to deal with devotees with affection. Instead of that, they are more aggressive in their dealing, because they are taking a lot of pressure and anxiety, and this is something which is they cannot handle. So then, if you want to take up a lot of services and you want to deal with devotees, then your sadhana has to become very strong. That sadhana has to give you a lot of bliss, in order to balance that. If your sadhana gives you bliss, then only take up those challenges. Otherwise, you will start committing offenses to the devotees. So your sadhana must be able to bestow tolerance, detachment, all these qualities, so that you always be humble and you always deal very affectionately with devotees. For example, our Gurujan, like His Holiness Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Srila Gopal Krishna Maharaj, His Holiness Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj, no matter whatever services they are doing, multiple services they are doing, you see their interaction with devotees. It's always very grounded, so humble, very affectionate, never judging anyone. So all, if you are really advanced, you can take up these services. Otherwise, not recommended. And it also depends on. So there are some very important services, and then there are some other services which are not so important. So it also, you should also see whether all these other services, if affecting your main service, the most important service, if it is affecting, then you have to sacrifice those other services and you have to focus totally. So quality is very important. Your quality, your service should not affect the lives of other devotees. It should not become a source of anxiety for others. Your dealings should be very nice with devotees. Then that much service has to be taken. So basically, we need to boil it down and limit our service if we are not able to handle that pressure. And now the exception is that unless the guru wants that. So unless, if the guru has direct instruction given to the disciple, for the time being he wants the disciple to be engaged in multiple services, then yeah, they have to do it. There is no other option. Yeah, and then we have to always remember purpose of seva is for purely for the satisfaction of the Lord's pleasure, not for recognition. So our intention has to be pure, and we have to use our intelligence in terms of how much sadhana to be done, how much seva to be done, right? And then now coming to um, the sadhana and seva context for the four ashramas. So you'll see that Grihastha devotees, they have some freedom in terms of sadhana because they have some independence. So they can spend some more time in sadhana. Whereas there are those who are brahmacharis who are staying in the temple, because they are maintained by the temple, they are dependent on the temple. That's why they have to do kind of 6 to 8 hours of service in the temple. You know, so for them, service will be more. And sadhana, of course, they cannot compromise, and they do sadhana also very nicely. The best advantage is that they are living in temple association of devotees. They are attending the entire morning program, and at the same time they are doing full-time service, right? Direct service. Whereas grihasthas, there is no direct service, but indirect service is there. We earn money and we contribute to the temple and to the community. And of course, there may be some direct service also that we may spend good amount of time in the temple worshipping the deities and making garlands or preaching and like that. So we can take up those kind of services. But Grihastha devotees have that because they are not dependent on the temple. So it is advised for the Grihastha they should stay outside the temple because their focus, their priorities are different. They also have to balance their family duties. It is not just about fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, but there is also obligation from relatives, from family members, so that we have to fulfill. So Grihasthas, they have some independence in that, and that's why service will be like. And as I shared earlier, Grihasthas must focus on their sadhana first, unless there is some urgent need from the temple. Then they have to. If they do not have sufficient time for apart from chanting, then whenever if there is a choice between reading and doing service regularly, first they should, I think I would suggest that they should definitely read the books of the acharyas. They should focus on Shravanam. Let time pass. See, you should not be, one has to be intelligent, and one should always hanker for service. See, ultimately the entire goal of sadhana is to render service. Like for example, the entire goal of charging the batteries is that you discharge it. If you don't discharge, then what is the use of charging batteries, right? The battery should be used. So the entire goal of sadhana is to obviously do some practical service, but then uh, until the point when we are really fixed in bhakti, we should not take up services. Because if services are affecting us, then priority has to be given to sadhana. Health first, sadhana, and then if you have more time, you can definitely render service. But then, see, you may not be able to render service at a particular point of time. In future, the Lord will definitely make arrangement because He knows your heart's desire. So just like Srila Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, they prepared themselves, and then later on, after so many years, Prabhupada went to the West. He suspended the instruction, but he did not neglect the instruction. So like that, you can adjust. Yeah. So, depending on the need and emergency or requirement from the temple, occasionally you may do some service also, but ultimately it should not affect your health and sadhana. And of course, some services like book distribution, Sankirtan, Harinam Sankirtan, preaching out of India, in countries where there are very few devotees or people are bereft of Krishna consciousness altogether. The more the need, the more the special mercy will follow. So these are all like special services. If you do this, there is book distribution. There is no doubt Prabhupada will not be pleased. So nobody needs to ask whether I need to do book distribution or not. If you can do, that is the best thing, because book distribution is taking you out of your comfort zone and allowing you to make sacrifices. So that when you start making sacrifices, that will definitely bestow special mercy. So there are some special services, and depending on the need also, like Prabhupada said, if you go to the Muslim countries to preach, I will take the dust of the devotee's head and put it on my head, the dust of the devotee's feet and put it on my head. So Prabhupada also made that kind of, he made that special mercy available in terms of the sacrifice of the devotees. Like Brahmananda Prabhu had gone to Africa and some countries, where nobody went and there was a lot of risk. So when you take a big risk, higher risk, the more the risk is higher, the more special mercy you also attain. But of course, it has to be by the blessings of the Guru. It has to be approved, because whether you have the strength to sustain or not, that is also it needs the blessing of the Guru, because he knows. So if he wants you to go there, then you can go. But if he says no, then better you stay at your own place and preach. So these are all many different factors that I wanted to address. So now with this, I conclude the talk. If there are any questions or comments, then devotees can share. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Danda Pranam. All grace to Prabhupada. It was a very nice and enlightening talk. Yes, it's very important. Your classes are always instructional and in terms of the practices and do's and don'ts. Yeah, it's very important for us to understand the do's and don'ts, because that is what we do day in and day out. And whereas the scriptures give us the understanding of the Rup Nam Rup Gun Lila. The practices sometimes falter because of some ignorance here and there. So these are very important. So that's why understanding of where we stand is also important. And sometimes these are generally, in a lot of times, these are brushed aside in class talks, because the Vaishnava aparad is taken little lightly. Without the knowledge, without the understanding that guiding a neophyte is not aparad. With the backing of the scripture, then that is not aparadha, and so that is actually service to the Lord. Yes, that is, and some of the times it is not done. That's why some some deviations happen from the from the perspective of the Upadeshamrita. Yeah, your classes are generally very nice break from in terms and break and quite enlightening in that way. So your classes are very much welcome, and your association is so much valued. And also it shows that and some one who has to speak on that also has to have the strength of the sadhana and the mercy, without which he may not venture into that, and so that shows that you are qualified with those that mercy. So that is also, and that mercy is flowing to us in the form of instruction. Very nice. And you said, yeah, I mean, so I was thinking that Krishna is saying chapter 12, how he would like to best devotees and little little better, less better like that. He's saying maya mano athasya my buddhim nivesha ma atha urdham na sang. He's the best devotee. So somebody who is constantly absorbed of yeah, that comes from sadhana. That is a top form of sadhana, and gradually then he says atha chittam atha chitta samadhatam nasaknosi maisthiram abhyas jagana kunkonte mamik chaptum dhananja. So that is abhyas is the chanting, and then yeah, then further down he comes to service also, service to Krishna, service to devotee, and then he comes for service to anybody. Even you're not concentrating on Krishna, the service to anybody, that itself is yeah. So sadhana, I mean, service is the basis, and also thinking that without sevana or the Punna Tirtha, that ruchi will not come. Then you will get the ruchi, and he will progress there. Yes, and of course when yeah, and we see, and your point is very right, that sometimes some have seen some because of the pressure or whatever to gain I mean come to the limelight. Some people take more service, but yeah, there is a chance. I mean, service, and there is a I mean, it may affect their their depth of sadhana, and then because they may also do aparadha, there is there, and also that teaching. Also, your point is very right, that without the sadhana, somebody preaches Siddhanta Saraswati that without the 6 years of 1,90,000 rounds, without that he won't, or rather 9,000 names, he won't do preaching. And that basically is shows us the bar. We are nowhere. I mean, we have Krishna Mahaprabhu also says that janma sarthaka kari kara parupaka. So if it is not sarthak, so without one being sarthak, that preaching will not make effect. And I have also seen myself, like if one is sadhana is weak, it will show up in the conduct, in his, even in his smile it will show up, in his in the looks of his eyes it will show up that there is a karma, the anarthas are there. So when somebody who sadhus, the looks and the vision, the way the sadhu will look at somebody itself will be different. The smile will be conveying the purity. So once somebody sees the pure, that the sixth sense is there with different levels, and a lot of people. that itself will convey that he is a welcome break from this grueling. Everybody is struggling in this material world. Everybody needs a sadhu to rescue them. But yeah, getting a sadhu is very rare. When somebody sees a sadhu, sadhu speaks a single word, that itself is brings them, makes them take the whatever, if you're distributing leaflet or book or whatever. If I'm doing so, yeah, because the point is to transform. I mean, I have heard somewhere that in the old circle, you just distribute books, but nobody will. I mean, my point is, the anarthas are there. The purification has not come. Even the books also won't. You will not be able to push. I mean, and the books won't move. He will just keep and take the books, and I mean, you look at the book, and then because that the Sukriti by looks at that Krishna Vigrapti says গঙ্গার পরে শরীরে পশ্চাতে পাবন দর্শনে পবিত্র করে এ তোমার গুণ so by the darshan of the sadhu some sukriti should follow flow to that person by the means of which he will be able to take that book. So unless that because most of the people are devoid of sukritis, and that momentary sukriti that the sadhu can give will make him take the book. Otherwise, the person goes without the strength of the sadhana, that sukriti won't flow, and the man will not take the book. I mean, that I have seen. Of course, very rarely people would be in the Satagun to pick up a book from the table. The people, man is in Satagun, there is no need of preaching. He'll be jigyasu by himself, and he'll pick up the book, and he will himself start asking questions if so. But those people are rare though anyway, in terms of the general populace. Yes, your classes are very welcome break. Your classes generally are very nice, Prabhuji. Thank you for your kind association.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for your nice comments. Yes. So, any other devotee have any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Madanat pranam to you. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. So in your class, you were mentioning that different circumstances, Shri Prabhupada is giving different answers, and one time he's saying you chant your 16 rounds, other person you do seva, right? So how is this time, place, circumstances? I have to understand that. What is the relevance of this time, place, circumstances which Prabhupada is referring to? Because I mean, this is not in an ordinary person's hand to do a thing like that. I mean, it requires a lot of intelligence to understand the situation and everything, then accordingly give instructions. So can you emphasize a little bit on how Prabhupada would do this? Is there anything which can give us some information on that?
Yeah. I mean, see, first of all, Prabhupada is an Acharya. He is Nityasiddha, directly in touch with Krishna, and Krishna is instructing Prabhupada directly. So Prabhupada, when he is establishing so many temples throughout the world, that becomes a priority for him. The reason he has given sannyas to so many disciples. Now, you have seen that so many sannyasis later on they had fallen down. In fact, during Prabhupada's presence also. So Prabhupada kind of indirectly knew that. Okay. And some of the sannyasis, they were not chanting 16 rounds. Prabhupada probably knew that. But Prabhupada gave them the opportunity. And the entire reason for giving opportunity was because there was an urgent need to spread Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada had, he had very less duration of time in order to spread it because of his age. Prabhupada said many times to his disciples that, how much can I preach? How much service can I do? Ultimately, I have got less time. So Prabhupada expected from his disciples to do a lot of preaching, because all these disciples, they were like joining at the age of 15, 20, 25, like that, 30, right? So the Acharya perfectly knows when to do, what to do, at what time to do, all these things. And because he's an Acharya, and that's why right at the beginning I said, the Guru has to be a Sadguru. He has to be a transparent medium of Krishna's desire. He must understand Krishna's desire at that particular point of time in order to make all these adjustments. So if he can do that, then he can kind of give some kind of adjustment in terms of making some changes in terms of sadhana and seva. It does not mean Prabhupada, when Prabhupada says that, okay, let him be the temple as temple president, and if he's not chanting 16 rounds, it's okay. It does not mean that he wanted that disciple to do it forever. But for that particular time being, Prabhupada may have known that if he asked him to chant 16 rounds along with his seva, he may not be able to do it, and then he may have left. Because if he displeases the spiritual master, if he does not follow, it becomes an aparadh. And through that aparadh, the disciple may go away later on. So Prabhupada also wanted to protect the disciples' devotion. Right? So it's not that Prabhupada must have desired like that. That okay, for you I'm giving this concession. For that particular time, Prabhupada gave him that concession. Whereas for Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu, that was a concession which was made permanently, because he saw his devotion, he saw that he's actually constantly absorbed. It's not that he's gratifying his senses sometime and then major time, like he's doing service, but he's also secretly gratifying his senses. Because Prabhupada is connected to the Paramatma, and the Lord sees the bhav and the essence, the sar of one's devotion. So many occasions Prabhupada could read the mind of the devotees. So this is all possible for a Sadguru. It may not be possible for ordinary devotees. Okay. So when a Sadguru is giving instructions, then he has to be definitely connected. He should understand. He must know the desire of the Lord. Otherwise, the Guru will also fall down. If he unnecessarily makes adjustment, he has no potency. That's why Srila Prabhupada writes, and Rupa Goswami also states, that one should not accept more than, one should accept only few disciples. If he accepts a lot of disciples, then he has to face the reaction of that. So he must have the potency to nullify the reaction of the karma of their disciples. So if they accept a lot of disciples, and if they do not have that potency, if they are not on that highest level of spirituality, then there is a chance they will fall down. So only those who have got that potency, they can take a lot of disciples like that, right? So this is what is called adjustment, and that adjustment, the Guru only can know because he's got the intelligence. He's directly connected to the Lord. In fact, it's also a matter of information. Like for example, Srila Prabhupada sent some disciples to a place to do service, to establish a center. But then later on, after providing some information, Prabhupada changed that decision. So, it is also dynamic in nature. It is like sometimes Krishna may speak directly to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada has the conviction he can change anything by his own will. And there are circumstances where Prabhupada will make the changes seeing the environment. Like, Prabhupada also said, Falena Parichate. So you test your preaching and you see the results. If the results are successful, it is coming as per the effort that is put in there, then yeah, you continue that service. But if there are no results coming, then you don't waste your time, because time is also precious. It is limited for us. And Prabhupada also, that's why he said that, you don't have to distribute books to a place where people are not interested. Instead of that, book distributors should go to a place where there is a lot of opportunity for book distribution. So ultimately, we want to distribute more and more books. That is our goal. So we have limited time. We don't have unlimited time. We have just one body, and we can only do limited service in this body. We cannot expand ourselves and do services like the Lord. So use your intelligence at particular time, which place you have to do what service. That is Falena Parichate. So both things are important. The Guru decides based on direct inspiration from the Lord, as well as also seeing the circumstances, and then he makes the decision for the changes. Okay. So it also, the earlier days were different, Now ISKCON has become a large movement, especially in India. Western country, obviously, it has to grow. It has to attract a lot of Westerners. But overall, it has spread like anything than Prabhupada's time, because Prabhupada's time was actually the beginning time. So that's why Prabhupada was directly supervising it, and he was able to make all these changes. So it all, anyways, the important principle is that if the Guru says, the Guru is Sadguru, then it has to be executed. It is then the responsibility of the Guru to protect our devotion, to protect us. Okay, of course, you may share your, like for example, if your Guru is telling you something challenging and you feel that you will not be able to do, you'll be affected. You'll be you won't be able to take up that. So you can share your experience. You can share your realization, and then the Guru may change also, like uh, depending on your honesty and really, the whatever you share with the Guru, he may change that service for you. And it also happened during Prabhupada's time. Prabhupada did that. So from the disciples' point of view, from the disciples' end, it is also important for the disciple to share honestly, what is their situation, what do they think about it, and whether this seva. There are instances where Prabhupada told disciples something, and disciples gave reasons why not to do that thing. But even after all the reasons, Prabhupada ultimately tricked those disciples and they had to do that service. So there are instances like that. And then there are other instances where Prabhupada, based on hearing from the disciples, he accepted that and he made the changes like that. So it's a very dynamic thing. It's not like, it's all personal. Ultimately, it is all individual. It's not applicable to everyone. I mean, specific instructions are specific. You cannot um, expect others to follow that. So general instructions are general for everyone. Everyone can follow that like that. I hope it makes sense.
Yes, Prabhuji, and also like Prabhupada has shown this aspect also in his asking questions, where one time he asked, I don't remember exactly the wordings of the question, but like say any question he asked, why is it important to read Bhagavad Gita? So then in one place he answers question differently. The answer another place is different. Have you heard of that?
Yeah,
Again,
Prabhupada said that time, place, circumstances are very important. You cannot
yeah.
expect audience to hear the same type of answer, because the audience level is different in different places.
So Prabhupada could actually see that. He could read through the person and accordingly, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is, as I said, that it comes from inspiration from the Lord, and it also comes from experience. I mean, even devotees who are preaching, they have got experience that you cannot answer in the same way everywhere. According to every circumstance, you have to present Krishna consciousness. So that also comes from experience. I mean, you make mistakes, you learn from that, and then you implement it.
Yeah, Prabhuji, and thank you for sharing just one point which I took from your class today, and others can also share, is that book distribution is getting out of the comfort zone. I wish I can always remember this, because you said book distribution, you stressed so much in the class today. It's such an important seva, and sometimes we, just like in our life, we stop doing exercise, we stop doing so many things, we just totally stop, and we stop reading the books. Similarly, we just overlook, and so I believe that books should always be there with you, in your accessibility in your car. Only then you can give, because sometimes, like, we go somewhere and you meet this nice soul, very friendly, everything, and you want to give them the book is not there with you. You feel so bad, so guilty that you're not able to give a book to that soul. So yeah, like and of course it is getting out of the comfort zone. And the other point was very nice, that even if maybe you said it or I heard from someone else, that even if no books go, Krishna is still seeing our effort, right? Our effort is there, that we did the effort, because we took out our time, and so that's also important. Even if we should not get disheartened if the books
Yeah,
don't.
it's a test from the Lord.
Yeah.
Whether we really want to distribute for Krishna's pleasure, or whether we are hankering for results. We want to show off to devotees that today I distributed so many books. So that steadiness in service, see, that's why steadiness is very important. Whatever you do, whether it is sadhana or seva, there will be a lot of challenges and tests, and the Lord is always seeing whether you are doing it for His pleasure. See, actually, if you think very logically, it does not require any deep thinking about this. It's very simple. Krishna consciousness is very simple. Devotees are supposed to be always happy, always. Just there is only one thing that the devotee needs to do, and why they have to be happy, because Krishna is always happy. As simple as that. Krishna is always happy, and because we want to serve Krishna, so we are supposed to be happy. But why are we miserable? Many times, because there is ulterior motive. Otherwise, you see, Krishna is always playing his flute, he's enjoying with the gopis and the coward boys, and he's always, whichever temple you go, you not see Krishna crying. He's always blissful. That is the nature of the Supreme Lord. So, if we really love Krishna, then, and what is the meaning of love? Love means that if your beloved is happy, then you are happy. This is the mood of the gopis also. They just want to see Krishna happy, and for them, they are willing to accept anything for that. They are willing to go to hell. They are willing to suffer separation from the Lord for many years, lifetimes. They are all willing to do that just for one thing, to make Krishna happy. So, technically, ideally speaking, Krishna consciousness is very simple. You don't have to really complicate your brain and think about it much. If you have this simplicity that Krishna, the Lord, if the Lord is happy, I should always be happy. So no question of any external thing that can disturb us. But yeah, because we are not on that pure platform, the simplicity becomes very complex, and unfortunately, we have to face up our anarthas. So basically, our anarthas are there. We have a lot of expectations, ulterior motives, and all, and that's why we are not always happy.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one last bit thing. When we do book distribution, what happens is sometimes it is easy to give a book away without taking money. You convince the other person and give the book to them, But taking some Lakshmi is also beneficial for the other person. Not that the Lakshmi is going to make us rich or we're going to use the money somewhere else. But how to, do book distribution in such a way that, even if you tell them, yes, it's for your own benefit, or the printing cost is there, many of the people will not pay. And they'll say, no, we don't have money, we don't have this, we don't have that. And then what we think is we are in a situation where now what to do? We have to give the book. So we just give the book like that only.
See, it is my experience and then experience of the senior devotees who are distributing books. And it's a common experience that it all depends on the desire. You have to see the desire of that person. If the desire is strong, if they really want the book, and if they do not have money, then I think you can give it to them. Because ultimately, one thing we see when there is the donation thing, it is always adjusted. Like for example, you may give free book to someone, but then someone else will come and he will pay you more donation. Or let's say if you are having a fixed price, then they will pay you double price, and they will say that, oh, well, keep it as a donation. So that will be adjusted. This is all Krishna's arrangement. But most important factor is we have to use intelligence, and we have to know the desire of the person who is in front of you. If they are eager to take the book, you can give it for free also. And I mean, of course, you cannot give Bhagvatam set, because that's too expensive. I mean, it requires a lot of faith also. If you have that kind of faith that, okay, Krishna will send someone who will pay for it. I mean, I guess that there is this Mahatsav Prabhu, who is Bhakti-Vikas Maharaj disciple, who is in Atlanta, and he distributes a lot of Bhagavatam sets. He's like the #1 distributor in the world. And I think sometimes he has distributed for free also. But then he has got full faith, because of his experience, that someone else will come and he will give more donation. So, I mean, it all depends on the faith also of the devotee. So if someone is very eager, then you can give it actually. And you can pray to the Lord. So the Lord will definitely help.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. And Prabhuji, yesterday I was asking one question on the conference call about Bhadra Purnima. So Bhadra Purnima.
Of course, it's not the intention of the person. He may be very eager, but you can also sense whether the person, if he's able to afford, but he just wants it for free. That also has to be kind of understood by talking to the person, right? You genuinely can feel that okay, a person needs it, but he does not have money. You can genuinely feel that. But then there is person who is wealthy but who does not want to pay for it, and he just wants for free, right? That has to also be observed. So depending on
Yes, you're right.
you can use.
Prabhuji, in one line, what is the significance of Bhadra Purnima? It was Purnima yesterday.
See, basically this thing has to be introduced by Srila Vaisheshika Prabhu, and Bhadra Purnima, this is the day when Srimad Bhagvatam, the conversation between Sukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj ended. This is the last day of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Conversation ended.
And it's a very auspicious day. It's a Purnima, and there is glories of the Bhagavatam itself in the Bhagavatam, which says that on this particular day one should enthrone the Bhagavatam on a golden throne, right? So the significance is there, but this was introduced by Vaisheshika Prabhu recently. It is not something that Srila Prabhupada did, but he just felt the need for distributing Bhagavatam sets, and they were doing it in Silicon Valley. So I think he just got the idea to why not for the entire ISKCON world we do it. So then this was introduced just recently. I think 2017 or 18.
Okay, Prabhuji. Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right. So
it's a good thing because it encourages us once a year, just like Bhagavad Gita, to give books, and at least I'm sure many books go because of Bhadra Purnima.
yeah, facilitate distribution of Bhagavatam sets.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other devotees? Do they have any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much for this important topic, and you explained very nicely about how should we give importance to sadhana and service, because both are dependent on each other. Like if we do sadhana perfectly, we'll get more services like that, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you all the devotees for giving me opportunity to serve. Vaishnav ki jai.
Yeah, so let's pay ourselves to all the Vaishnavas and Prabhuji. Vancha kalpatra vaishya kripa sindhu vaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anant koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Jai Prabhupada ki jai. Granthara Shri Bhagavatam ki jai. His Grace Prem Rasa Prabhuji ki jai. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, and all the attendees. Today we have many attendees, Prabhuji. Your topic was so interesting.
Yeah, I hope that devotees, everything made sense to them. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji, very, very clarified class. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna, all devotees.
Hare Krishna, Chitra Mataji, and
Hare
Nagarjun Prabhu, Ipshita Mataji. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.